General Holder, I respectfully but forcefully disagree with the assertion. When you look at the quality, not just the quantity, but the quality, the nature of the executive orders that he has issued, he has usurped an extraordinary amount of authority within the executive branch. This is not precedented. At a minimum, I think he owes us an explanation as to what his legal analysis was.
Well, that was Senator Mike Lee grilling the nation's top law enforcement officer on President Obama's use of executive power. Not satisfied with the explanation Mr. Holder gave, Republican lawmakers are now demanding more. In fact, our next guest wrote a letter to Mr. Holder, co-signed by 20 members of Congress, seeking constitutional justification, stating, "The separation of powers exists to prevent tyrannical governance. As you are aware, we do not have a king, nor do we have unchecked power in any single branch of government." Joining me now, Pennsylvania Congressman Republican Mike Kelly. Sir, good to see you. So Thanks, in your view right now, because I know now you're turning to Mr. Holder saying, tell us how he can do this. Point exactly to that provision of the Constitution or case law interpreting it, saying the president can go as far as he's gone. First of all, have they responded to you?
No, they haven't responded yet, but I think, as Senator Lee just said, this is there's no precedent for this. This is so over the top.
How is it so different from anything President Bush did?
Pardon me?
How is it so different from anything?
Listen, it's different. We're talking about things that really have deep-seated changes in the way our Constitution was written. We all took the same oath when we came into office: protect and preserve and defend our Constitution. But when you go through the process, it's very difficult for Congress to do this. It's very difficult to get answers from the Department of Justice, especially Attorney General Holder. Now, this is chief law enforcement officer in the country who doesn't answer subpoenas. The Department of Justice does not hold him accountable when he's in contempt of Congress. And I think the people, now this is not a Republican issue, by the way, this is a strictly American issue. If we cannot get answers from these folks, definitive answers is what has given this president the ability to leapfrog and go over the Constitution and the powers that he's granted in the Constitution.
But I'm imagining Mr. Holder doesn't agree with you that that's an accurate characterization. And does he have an obligation, first of all, to respond to you? I mean, does he really work for you? He works for us. But does he work for you? Does he have to respond when you give him a homework assignment of come back and give me the constitutional justification for what your boss, the president, is doing?
Well, listen, we've already seen this now. We're into 5 years of this delay, and then deny. Listen, when you write a letter, I expect a response. Now, will we get it? I don't know. We're in a difficult position, though, because number one, there's only certain things we can do. We can look at trying to do something as far as the law would concern, but would have to have the Senate on board for us. Could block funding, but again, would have to have the Senate on board with us. We could litigate, but then would have to have standing. That would mean that I, as a member of Congress, would have had to been adversely affected by the president's actions.
Standing is a big problem.
Some of the things we're seeing, but Megan, some of the things, I'm sorry?
Standing is a big problem in bringing some of these proposed lawsuits to stop this. I want to shift gears because I want to ask you specifically about the latest power grab, and that is this week the president delayed the employer mandate for smaller businesses between 50 to 100 or 99 employees, saying, okay, it's not going to kick in for you. The requirement that you get health insurance for your employees is not going to kick in now until 2016. In that executive order, he then said, oh, and by the way, if you want to reduce your workforce below these levels, you're going to have to certify to the IRS that you're not doing it to avoid Obamacare. You basically have to pay homage to Obamacare. And if we think you're lying, you're going to be in serious trouble because you have to certify this under penalties of perjury. Now, I mean, we had some lawyers on our show this week who were losing their minds over this, saying that this is crazy. He doesn't have the power to create new crimes from the White House. What can you and Congress do about that?
Well, we can do investigations, as you know. We can expose. But what we really need are the American people to be outraged by what's going on. The real answer to all this is an outcry from the public. Now, and again, I said, it's not a Republican agenda. If we can't get this back under control, we are at the risk of losing everything that this country has been about for several hundred years. I mean, why are we at this position? Now, I don't know a long range where this president's trying to take us. It doesn't look good to me, and it doesn't look good to members of Congress. It certainly shouldn't look good to any single American that's out there. So what do we do as Congressmen?
Look, the president thinks that you guys are unwilling to work with him, that we can't have a country, you have a do-nothing Congress, we can't have a country that sits around for the next 4 years getting absolutely nothing done. And so he says, look, maybe I'm pressing it, but I'm going to have to press it to help the American people have some sort of legislative achievements over the next 4 years.
The division of powers by the founders was very clear We don't need a tyrant. We don't need a king. Now, do we agree with them on policy? No, but that's where the heavy discussion takes place. The heavy debate takes place in the Congress.
How could he woo you? More outreach? I mean, was it supposed to be like having cocktail parties with you guys on Capitol Hill?
Listen, I don't need to be charmed. I need to be assured that when I come back home, where I live in Pennsylvania, that I can tell people, listen, we did defend the Constitution. We protected it and we preserved it for you. Meg, what the president is doing now is an unprecedented overreach of executive powers. People can't sit back and say, you know what, I still like him. This has nothing to do with liking him as a person. This has to do with policy. If you don't get it your way, then it's no way. It's only his way. There is a process that we work by. That's why we're the most admired country in the world, in the history of the world. We work through, this is a government that works for the people. This is not a place where people work for the government. My goodness, if we can't see clearly right now that if I don't get my way, then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to disregard the law. I'm going to go above it. I'm going to do what I have to do to get it done. And I dare you to do something about it. Well, I got to tell you, I sit with a lot of men and women right now, on both sides of the aisle, by the way, that are very, very concerned with what this president is doing. Well, we will not back off. We will continue to investigate and expose.
They're not saying much. I got to go.
Well, I got to go,
Congressman.
Listen.
All the best. See you soon.